And so I had to Narcan myself on Christmas. And sadly, it was Christmas. We were in the whole addiction part of it because I was still punishing myself for my sponsee dying and things like that. And I did way too much, and I was actually supposed to be at the hotel all through Christmas. I stayed out in my car, and I Narcan myself in my car, and I shit you not, there was the angel of death over my car, over the car, and it whooshed away, and then my body dropped into a really blue. I felt my body was completely blue and cold, and it would get hot, and then get really, really cold, and then it would get hot, and then really, really cold, and then hot. I was preparing myself to die.
All right, how's it going, Robbie?
It's going all right. I'm actually quite excited to come out here, actually, honestly. So
I appreciate you coming on. Everybody might not know you're my brother. We've known each other for a minute, so.
You went to law enforcement, and I went the other way. Let's just put it that way. But yes, we are brothers.
Yeah. Two different trails started the same area-ish.
Yes. Yeah,
We just have different perspectives, I guess. So we get the whole realm. Everybody can see the whole picture from
I would have to agree. Yeah.
one side of the law to the other side.
Yeah, we see both sides of it. Yeah, exactly. I remember when he started being a CO, I was like, oh, shit. Oh, man. It was good, though.
It's funny because you're the reason that I became a CO.
I know. It's really crazy that, I moved out here, and you're like, you got to find a job. And it's like, oh, well, yeah. I think so too, and I'm at that temp agency, and you're like, "Well, looks like I'm gonna be a CO." I'm like, "What?"
Yeah, no, you're gonna. We can get into a little bit later why I brought you up here, but you were coming up here, and so I just signed you up for the Department of Labor to find you some jobs, and I didn't know your email, so I put your information, but I put my email, and then I ended up getting told that pretty much at my job, I needed to find a new job because I couldn't work directly under family as my supervisor. So then I had to start looking for jobs. And then one of your emails for you getting a job came across my email, and it said like Department of Corrections. And I was like, well, this is not for him, but I'll take this job. So I went over and I applied for it. And then 9 years later, here we are. But
yeah, I remember you telling me that too, and I was like, you know what? I would be. This was before I got a felony and everything like that. And I'm like, I would be okay with going and being in corrections, but I've been in those shoes too many times, and I think I would just be too nice to him, and I'd lose my job.
Well, I think there's a difference. Like, I definitely feel like being nice isn't a bad thing, but I think what you were saying was like you would turn a blind eye to a lot of stuff, not just some stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're bored. They're just trying to pass time the best they can. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's interesting just looking at how everything's happened.
Yeah, definitely. Began in Utah, and now I'm out here in Idaho, which is kind of crazy. Never thought in a million years I'd be doing cabinets, though. I was doing hella call center jobs, and then I finally did the last one, and I'm like, I have no idea where to go. No idea where we're gonna go, and shit. Thank God I found cabinetry. I thank God every day for that, for sure.
Yeah, it seems like it's your art form. I think a lot of things in your life are your art, your music, your cabinets, you write, you make your own videos, TikTok.
Yeah, mostly with those TikToks, I just want people to understand and know that I know it's kind of cliche, or everyone says that you're not alone, but truly, you're not alone. And I talk about issues on like secondhand suicide, or just things like that, or being stuck in your mind and not being able to get out, or if you like basically they do what's called the loop, where you just have negative thoughts, or why am I thinking this? I'm a bad person for thinking this. Why am I thinking this? And thoughts I'm going to tell this right now. So whoever's listening, thoughts, we don't actually think our thoughts. They just happen. And how I can prove that is you can't think your next thought. I can't. I still keep trying, and I still can't. So, and that was a thing that made Hell in the Cell 24 Hours Where I Dwell. I wrote it in a lyric somewhere. And it was worse than prison. It was probably worse than anything, I would think, because you can't really get away from it, and you're just kind of, so you're in a group and you're there, but you're not exactly there. I don't know if that makes sense.
So you're saying you can't control your subconscious thoughts?
Yeah, or you start judging yourself for having those kinds of type of thoughts and not knowing where they're coming from, kind of type deal.
Yeah, it can be scary getting some of those dark thoughts. I think I can definitely relate to that. I think that there's like an inner darkness that a lot of us have, and some of us will embrace it, and some of us are scared of it.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why I have my little movement I had when I was actually a sponsor, believe it or not, before I relapsed again after quite a while. But with that being said, the mental health thing, as long as somebody just looks at the video or something, I don't just say stupid stuff. It's not your average kind of type of TikTok. I mean, I'll do stupid stuff like the dude wiper, bro. You get a dude wiper, please. Get a dude wiper 1000. That is the best thing. We never run out of toilet paper because we don't use any. We just, dry it up. That's it. But anyway, ADHD, yes, that's me. I forgot where I was going with that. Yeah, but
Yeah.
All right, we'll just keep it going.
Yeah, I mean, let's just start back to the beginning. Can you walk us through some of the darkest moments of your life that have, led you to where you are, and maybe what some of the major turning points were for you?
I think when I was growing up and we all had secondhand stuff and going to school, and everything was brand name when you went to school. If you didn't have brand name, you were just kind of like, oh, you're just a poor kid. You're just a poor kid. That's why I get so upset when people say that we had white privilege. I didn't even know what white privilege was until I think in my 30s. And no, I did not have anything close to that. I still remember my free lunch code, 24356. So no white privilege here. But the worst ones would definitely be when I was trying to fit in with my friends. And I'd fit in just long enough that I'd be part of the crew, but I wouldn't be their number one pick. But hey, at least I was in the crew anyway. I'd be their last pick or whatever. Or, oh, I guess I'll call him kind of type deal. And yeah, it sucked, but it was cool kind of having friends at the same time. So you're at like a crossroads. Do I want to, endure them capping on me or like razzing on me the whole time? Or do I just want to be alone in my room? Listening to music all the time with tinfoil over my windows, by the way. There was no light in my room. I was no tweaker then, not yet, but yeah, there was no light in my room. And I had like all these Christmas lights everywhere. It looked like a Korn music video.
Yeah, when did you start listening to all the heavy metal, Korn, Slipknot? You were huge into that.
I mean, it was a huge alternative.
I mean, still, but
yeah, it was a huge thing when you were oh man, I'm not. Should I say it? Okay, I don't know. You were listening to Britney Spears, and I was trying to get you to listen to Linkin Park. And
oh yeah, dude, I still, yeah. I told Ashley, I was like, Britney Spears ever comes back to tour, dude, I'm going.
All for it. I mean, rest in peace, Aaron Carter. My grandma and your grandma, but yeah.
Hey, yeah, I was a big old Disney kid, dude. You were over here with Slipknot. I'm checking out, all the 90s, Britney Spears, Aaron Carter, all that. Yeah.
Yeah. It was mostly because our mom, she worked like 3 jobs. So
I remember you got in trouble for stealing me a Britney Spears CD.
Yeah. I mean, I stole you a lot of stupid stuff I don't know why I would, but I just did. And I thought I had to. I thought I was being a good brother, a good sibling or whatever. I was just like, even though I stole it, it's still something cool they didn't have before.
Yeah.
So very negative thinking looking back now. But
what's funny is I was just talking to someone the other day about how, like, I would never let my kids do this now, but remember when we would go to, like, what was it, Gene Fulmer? We'd go into like some random dude's basement and go get sodas in the middle of summer.
Oh my God, yeah, that's Marv Jensen.
We go
Marv Jensen, yeah.
We go like take this little shady alleyway between a horse corral and
a dirt road.
Yeah, and we're like taking this and there's all these weeds and shit we're going through, and then you cut through another little field, and then there's this dude's house, and he was like a all-time boxer or something. Cool dude.
Yeah.
And we just like knock on his door, be like, hey, can we get soda? He's like, yeah, just go down to the basement.
Yeah.
And we just go down to the basement, go get our soda, and then we bounce or we talk to him for a little bit. But like if my kids came back and told me, Dad, I just went to some dude's house, went down to his basement, got a soda, I'd be like, yeah, we're making a couple calls real quick.
We got some issues. I mean, I definitely would have to agree.
But we did that so much.
Being a parent, yeah, looking back at that, and I was just
Like he was a cool dude. No.
yeah, he's like no chomo or anything. He's just an old time boxer coach who coached Gene Fulmer, and who was really big in Utah, and he just loved little kids. Not like that though. He just like
no Diddy.
No Diddy there. He just like showing off his rings that he had, and he had like championship belts. You would never know.
It was more like a mentor for a lot of the kids that didn't have people around.
Yeah, the poor kid house. I mean, basically all us poor kids, even the Proctors. I don't know if you remember the Proctors, but even the poor kids would go over there and get sodas and candy, and he would just be all for it. And no, it was before Kitty. No Diddy, yeah, for sure, man. And he passed away sadly. He was already like 80 years old when we were going over there. But yeah, look him up. Gene Fulmer, and his coach was Marv Jensen in West Jordan, Utah. That's actually where we grew up, and now we are in Idaho. That's weird.
Yeah. So anyway, you were saying you were just going with the wrong crowd from early on, stealing stuff. What were you saying? We got off the track.
Well, with the wrong crowd thing, it was like the whole I'm gonna fit in. So I had friends, and then those friends caused me to get honestly kicked out of high school, which is crazy because I got kicked out of the high school I actually graduated from. So I got kicked out there because I was so drunk. I puked all over my Dark Lotus shirt. I was a huge juggalo. Whoop whoop. And I say that sarcastically now because it's just hilarious these days. But anyways, yeah, I puked all over the Dark Lotus, and that was pretty dark because I kept on like getting out of detention or getting out of trouble, and then finding myself back in trouble. And then I keep figuring out like it's not my fault, it's not my fault they left the door open. You know what I mean? It's like it's not my fault they didn't keep their doors locked. It's not my fault. So I had to go through a lot of thinking errors with that, but more dark things that just happen upon each other, like they just happen one after another. I never have ever really dealt with anything I've gone through, to be honest with you, from the death of our great-grandma to grandpa to my wife to, my uncle. I've never dealt with anything. I just know it happens, but it's never been brought back up to the surface. Like it's just the thing that I just accepted, and the faster I accepted it and didn't want to explore the hurt in everything I had to think about it, it was just a lot easier. But if it didn't happen, I wouldn't have never met the wonderful woman that I have today. So, darkest one would have to definitely be when I lost my grandpa, lost our grandpa, my wife, and my favorite uncle, all within about that same 6 months or whatever, between there. And then you found out I purchased a gun. You wanted to make sure it was, legal, and I didn't buy a stolen one. But you pretty much put the pieces together, and you said, "Hey, do you want to come back to Idaho with me?" So
yeah, I went down for Christmas to see Mom, and then I asked her like where you were at, and I remember you were in West Valley. I met you up over by that aquarium right there or something, like a fish store right there, and then I picked you up, and I just was asking you like how you were doing, and just catching up with you, and then I don't know how one thing led to the next, but you showed me you were carrying a little prostitute gun. Yeah. Like a little 32.
Little 32 6-shooter.
Yeah. And I was like, what the hell are you doing with a little prostitute gun, dude? And, I was just kind of joking around with you. And then you explained to me like it was a little bit more serious. And you just, I can't remember exactly what you said, just wrong people, wrong crowd, something you didn't know, you didn't feel comfortable. But you felt it was necessary to be able to protect yourself. And
Yeah, they had a green light on me, believe it or not. They do have green lights out in Utah. You better watch your back. You gotta always be strapped, not even fucking around. Because the trains out there and the tracks, you can literally get anywhere without a car or Uber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if you don't mind me asking, what was the green light for?
The green light was for I kicked somebody out when I had my apartment when I was 17. Kept on stealing from me, so we never could understand why I kept on kicking his ass out. Well, he got his other Juggalo friends to gang up on me and stage that my apartment was robbed, but I knew exactly who it was, and yeah, just because I kicked somebody out because they were stealing from me, so really stupid shit. And he got off on honestly just causing harm. He went to prison shortly after that for holding up a 7-Eleven with a knife.
Sounds like karmic debt in the end caught up with him. Then hopefully he changed his life, realized what he did was wrong, and
Yeah.
hopefully I could only hope that being from like that side of the prison, there's a lot of people that go in there making stupid mistakes, but ultimately I hope that they all figure their shit out. Life's too short to be messing up your whole life, man.
Yeah, the sad thing about it is he was still making threats while he was in prison, and I would run into these people that he said was gonna, get me or whatever, and I got the green light. And every time I met him at an ICP show or a Twisted show, they had nothing but love for me. So like I was always kind of, not naive or dumb to where like, yeah, I'll go in a car with you. Yeah, I don't know if you have a gun. Hey, what's up? I ain't seen you in a while. I kept my distance and everything like that. But every time I saw them friends, but they weren't hyphy unless he was around. So I think that they were just going through some shit in their life at that time. And they just wanted to fit in as well.
Yeah, just trying to put on a front.
Yeah, I think all it is just trying to fit in and just feel like you can have that feeling of comfort. And as long as you have that feeling of comfort, it feels like you can really do anything. And I don't know, it's kind of like an addiction of just wanting to be wanted or wanting to people hit you up. And that was another thing that got me in trouble is I stole my dad's pills, and then somebody else came in and stole his pills, and then that's what got me busted. So
What age was that at?
I was in high school, man. This was the last and final time they took me out of my home. I just shortly got off of probation, and they called me to the office, and they found OxyContin in my clothes and whatever. And those ones were actually from the dude I found out that stole them from out of my dad's house because they came over for 4th of July or whatever, whatnot. I got him in a school bathroom, and I was like, hey, man, give me what you got. He's like, I only have 4. I said, you're fucking lying to me. But anyways, after I got him back, not even a period later, a police officer is taking me to the office. So I think I was fucking around with a snitch. So, but he stole pills, but I feel like what happened is he threw dirt back on me as soon as, he found out what I really told him, but it didn't matter. I was a kid. I got a 1st, 2nd, and 3rd degree felony before I was even age 18.
Yeah, that's rough, man. Yeah, that whole area, man, has got to be so rough to think about. But do you ever look back and just think like all these things happened for a reason? You went through all this shit for a purpose. Like, I know for myself, I've had to look back. I'll go into it. I think next episode, I'll lay out my whole life. But like, I had to look back and be like, man, all that shit I went through, like, it made me who I am now. And if I can help someone else because I had to go through all that, like, it laid a foundation down for my life that I can help build up from there. But like, it sucked going through it while you were going through it, but you had to put in that time, and it's hard to understand that there's a plan while you're going through it. You ever feel like that?
Yeah, and I think it's just kind of messed up that there's that saying in the Bible that said that God wouldn't give you what you couldn't handle, and I've been through some pretty rough patches, and I understand we are supposed to go through the trials and tribulations in life and things like that to get where we're going. But there's just sometimes it was just so dark. Like when I was saying before, when I lost all three of those people, and it was the bottom. I think I remember telling you that when we went down Boise, you're like, let's get you really drunk, like just trying to initiate me here in Boise, get my mind off of everything that I was going through. And I actually asked one of the gang members down on the side of the block if he'd actually kill me. Remember when you guys found me and I was getting choked out?
Yeah.
Yeah, I asked him. I was like, dude, kill me, dude. There's nothing more than I'd rather want right now. And I was so inebriated that I asked him to. Good old Dealey to the rescue. Dun, 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 dun. And he pulled him off and then threw me in the truck somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah, not to mention you did ruin my best shirts.
Yeah, I did ruin it.
Sorry, you almost died, but you did puke on my shirt, and I never got it back. I don't forget.
Yeah.
Just kidding. I'm making light out of a dark, dark situation, but
It was dark.
still never got my shirt.
No, he did not. And I mean, it's kind of scary, man, because I was trying all those medications, trying to do it like how they said. I know Big Pharma is a fucking lie or whatever for some things, but some things it really does help with like ADHD and having everything, or depression or PTSD and just being overwhelmed or feeling like you're strung up all the time, not strung up, like wound up. And you can't really calm down, and you feel like you need something extra. And that's how they get all these people hooked on Xanax, is that they just think that, oh, yeah, let's just slow down the thinking a minute, and then they'll be happy. And I didn't get that. I still struggle with it every day. Thank goodness I read something that said that ADHD grows out of the males around 35. I did kind of notice that I'm cleaning up a little more. I'm being a little more conscientious around me, and I can keep my thoughts a little bit in order instead of so random. So I don't know if I'll still be going by random anymore, but I don't know. I still am kind of random. I mean, this whole podcast has been a freestyle. So.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think that from an outsider looking into your life, there's got to be a reason why you're still around. I mean, how many times have you died? Like legit died and been brought back to life?
Yeah, it's been 4 times, and like Mom said, I'm alive for some reason. I still don't know what that reason is, but I do have 2 beautiful little girls. So,
take us through those deaths.
Oh man, if I have to,
one of them I know is like you mixed uppers and downers, right? Like you were Red Bulls, and is that one?
No, it was actually
I
actually went completely. I gave myself alcohol poisoning to the point to where I was blue in the face in the couch. Not a couch. It was a beanbag chair. Back in the day, we would throw these parties. You would call this hotline, and then you'd get an address so the one times wouldn't know. So after we did a show, and me and my buddy downed a thing of Sailor Jerry, we went and did another show at this warehouse party with TC Islam, which is African Bambaata's son. Tragically, he was I figured out he did die. I don't know why, but he was against all those child bred fucking things, so you know why, obviously. But he saw that I was blue in the face. He totally killed the warehouse, and they had the ambulance come and shut the whole party down just for me. And he told me the next morning after I got released from the hospital, he's like, ain't nobody know who you are. Why you gonna die? You would die for nothing. You die in vain, because ain't nobody know who you are or what you were. You just fucked up and drank too much, and that's how quickly it can happen.
What was your blood alcohol level? Did they ever tell you?
No, all I know is I woke up in the hospital, and they said, stay with us. I mean, that wasn't even the first time, so, I mean, shit. Other time was a suicide attempt, so, I mean, I have died, and I know it just feels like you go to sleep or someone just turned off, turn the off button off, but still scares me, especially after the woman I met that I used to not be afraid of dying, but now it would hurt me too bad if I could never see her, talk to her again, because we built a life together, and after all this, we actually live in a 2-bedroom apartment, our own vehicles with no credit card debt, and we make it work with 2 kids. So she has 2 kids, I have 2 kids, so I think I'm doing okay.
It's crazy to think about. I know you've tried sharing that on your TikTok before of like, hey, I've actually died before. And then like, nah,
Yeah, people
nobody
say
believe
lie.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even that Angie backed me up on that one. But yeah, it's crazy. I didn't even want to drink a lot of those times, but it was the only way to get home. And the girl I was with, there's another time where I flipped the whole son of a bitch over. I was like, no, we're not driving anywhere. I was pussy whipped, of course, and hopped in the whip. And before I knew it, I woke up. I was in the passenger. She was in the driver. It was upside down, and our sister's car was upside down, and I completely totaled it after she just barely, paid it off.
Yeah, that Pontiac Sunfire.
Yeah, tragically, I still feel bad about that to this day.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. I think I don't know if I was with mom or what, but when we got that call, how old were you when you did that?
I think I was just barely 21. It was shortly before I met Misha, and after I just barely got done with 3 weeks before my wedding. Due to drinking, by the way. Due to drinking. All this has been due to drinking. I'm like, maybe it can switch this time. No, it's always the fucking same. I got a DUI out of it. Lost my favorite job because of it. And then you just feel like you don't have any more outlets, and then you start being resourceful, or you find a chick that has a heroin and a methamphetamine habit, and that's a whole other fucking story, you know what I mean? You name it, I did it, and I'm not proud of it, but I am glad I have overcame and I have conquered.
Let's go back to like you had said that you were going to shows. I don't know if people know, but you do still do your own raps, and but you were performing at different shows. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so we would do these local shows, and then we also we were pretty good in with Twisted Insane, who has done stuff with like Tech Nine. These are old bands you old kids wouldn't know, but it was actually pretty good in my day, and we were actually causing some traction in Salt Lake City. And Twisted Insane. So who was it? Clips. I was a street team for Clips out in Las Vegas as well. But yeah, the shows, I've probably done over 43 shows, a lot of local. Only huge one we did was with the Cottonmouth Kings and Twisted. But I've been doing shows as an outlet since, honestly, we met Michael, and then after that, I wasn't really too into it until I brought my wife out there, who is now deceased or whatever, and I was able to see the look on her face when I would say something clever or something dope, and it kept me going. And then it kind of got put on pause for a while because I had no one to show it. And then more shows out here. I haven't done any shows out here. The last show I did was her benefit concert, and we raised some money at Five Monkeys in Salt Lake City.
What was that like, losing your wife?
It's kind of weird because I told her at the same time, if you do this, we can't be together. And it was a relapse. So it was a relapse when it happened. It wasn't like crazy, but I didn't think I would care as much because I was already so mad that, she went behind my back and she didn't come home for like 3 days. I left, packed up everything, all because she couldn't get away from the meth. And coincidentally enough, I was so fucking high on meth for her funeral because I couldn't handle it. I couldn't even see the casket get dropped in the ground, and the obituary said that she was married in 2012. It didn't mention much about me, so that kind of sucked. But she was a huge stepping stone in my life, and really starting to see what mental health was, and the demons it can bring out, especially when you do the drug methamphetamines. Believe it or not, you are in the devil's realm when you do methamphetamines.
How old were you when you first tried those hard drugs?
I was 15. Neighbor kid, we started smoking some meth. I think I was 15. He did a hatchet man on the back of my shoulder blade when I was obsessed with ICP. And then, but the very first time was that there was this very hot chick, and she told me she would give me what's called a shotgun. So a shotgun is basically my lips touch her lips. So I was like, okay, cool, you hot as hell, let's do this. And so that's all it took. And then I smoked it, and then I smoked it without being around girls, and then I came back and smoked it with Misha, who was my wife, and then I just figured out all the demons that it came with and all the feelings and unnerving feeling of being around that person that you just didn't want it in your house or in your life again. So we made a pact we weren't ever going to do it again. When she broke that pact, that it probably hurt me more than her dying, to be honest with you. But then for me to come so high because I wasn't able to, I still haven't been able to consciously deal with accepting her death. But yeah, that was, even though we weren't together, like we still had those memories since she was like 18 and she died when she was 21. So I would say it took a good 18 months of straight grieving, of poisoning and drinking and poisoning and drinking. And then I found life when I moved out of your place because you were moving into bigger and better things, and you moved out of the duplex, not the duplex, but the double wide.
Right. Yeah, I remember when you were living with me is actually when Misha ended up passing away. Because I had brought you up to live with me. It was shortly after you guys must have broken up, because it was right before or after Christmas. And I think she ended up passing out in like 2-3 weeks later in January, or was it January, February?
She went into the coma, and was it? They want to say that the timeline was December 26th. So shortly after, we already went to her grave and made that video for her and send to her that she was still in Las Vegas. People don't know this, and this is the first time anybody's gonna know this. We were actually talking about getting greyhounds and meeting up with each other when our lives were better and things were more in line. And then she just quit taking her insulin and just kept drinking. Quit taking her insulin, kept drinking. And yeah, her mom has passed, and it was honestly the inevitable. You get her diabetes in check, and she'd still go into DKA. I lived in emergency rooms, and it was just always the inevitable. So I think that's what helps me deal with it the best, is that it was the inevitable. I lost many jobs living in emergency rooms with her, so I wouldn't leave her side.
Yeah, she was in a coma for what, over a month in Vegas?
Yeah, over a month, and then they flew her over, and then her dad pulled the plug.
Yeah, man, I can't even imagine, like, all the stuff you've gone through, and that's such a hard time. When at what point did you first realize that you were struggling with addictions, and were there early signs that you may have ignored?
I think when I hit rock bottom with the addiction was when I was a sponsor, and one of my sponsees, we had just celebrated 6 months of her sobriety, and we were just really good, meetings, friends, go to meetings, celebrate birthdays, if you will. She had a good 6 months, so I said, let's go to Kevin Gates. Well, shortly after we saw Kevin Gates, I got a call from her. I don't know if it was her, I think it was her cousin or something she was living with. She said, well, yeah, I'm not going to say her name or anything, but I said, so-and-so is dead. We found her on her bed. Looked like she was looking for a phone or something, and she was in the crouching position, and yeah, she's been dead. And so at that moment, at that time, when I was a sponsor, because I got that DUI, and I lived in my car for about a year, I was still going to meetings. I was still trying to kick the alcohol, and I was a really good sponsor. Did the steps and things like that, and I figured, I was fucking Superman. I can help everybody, but they call it survivor's guilt. Like, maybe we could have been to more meetings, maybe this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. And I wanted to see the drug that why everybody kept going back to it if it was so bad. And so my therapist, counselor, whatever you want to call it, said I was punishing myself for the deaths, and that's why I went off the rail. And yeah, I was pimping out my girlfriend on like hookup sites and things like that just to get. We were doing about, what was it, 2 balls of meth and 2 grams of heroin every week, and we'd make the dudes pay for the rooms, so we had somewhere to stay, and also we went through about $10,000 in heroin and meth within 90 days. Sex is a hell of a drug, I can tell you that.
And that was all right before you got your felony charge? Was that?
Yeah, that I would have to say that felony charge would have to do with a mental breakdown with Grandma Ann and Lily at that time. That one was a whole different one because Grandma Ann had just passed away, and blackout rage, I guess, or blackout. Woke up in jail. But I had already been living under a bridge, been living in the dead ass heat, just going anywhere, sleeping under trees. I was all over the skate park. I was all over those areas out there, because the homeless shelter is twisted. They'll figure out what your drug is and what you're in there for, and they'll have people follow you, and they'll ask you, hey, you want to do this? I heard you like this, that, and the other, and they just try to lure you in. I do know one thing, though. They only take 2 hits. So the people that I have hung out with, they only take 2 hits, and then after we're done smoking, not even 2 minutes later, not even 2 minutes later, police always arrive, gang stalking. So I actually made it out of there by sleeping underneath the bridge by the library in Boise, and I stayed there for a whole 2 months, sleeping in garbage bags because I was right next to the water and cardboard.
I remember that whole time. That was rough, man. I not trying to take anything away from you, but like I'd call you and check on you, and you would tell me, and like for me to not be able to help you because I knew you had to go through these dark times, man, that was so because I've always been trying to help you out, and you've lived with me a few times, and that last time it was rough hearing you telling me you were living in your car, and I don't think you ever really told me till later that you were under the library, and you had told me you went to like a skate park and stuff, and man, just hearing that as like a loved one, it was hard to hear. I knew that, like you had told me later, one of the best things I did was to not bring you back in because you had to go through those times.
Yeah.
But what a shitty feeling, like to watch your family have to go through that.
Yeah.
I mean, even worse for you to have to go through it. But I remember talking to you, and you're like, "Yeah, I'm just sleeping in my car," and I was like, "Fuck," and I'd just be like, "Well, good thing it's summer, not winter," or something,
Yeah.
fucked up. And I was like, I think that one time I met you when you were painting with that one chick. I don't even know if you remember because you're.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, the painting. Yeah, yep. That's where it all began. That's actually where the story began again. It was to be continued when we left Salt Lake City.
Yeah, because you were on like a traveling painting crew, and
painting Boise State. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was actually gonna take you over. I took you to Walmart, and I was gonna like help you out and go get you a tent or something.
Yeah.
Just so you could not be sleeping in your car with that girl, and then somehow you had ended up getting your boss to buy you a room at the Cabana or something. Was it Cabana?
Yeah. And I was like, you can at least buy me a room because I'm out here. We came from Salt Lake, and
Yeah.
He left paint in my machine, but he said it's not his, it's not his responsibility to clean out the paint. So that's my bad. And then the paint machine got stolen, so that sucked.
Yeah. And then you had left. I took you guys down to the cabana,
Yeah.
you and your chick.
We lived there for about 6 months. She was prostituting herself out, escorting herself out.
Yeah, and I had no clue about any of this.
Yeah.
And then you left your phone in my car, and I was all the way back to almost Meridian.
Yeah.
And you didn't have my phone number, but you had mom's memorized or something, or the other chick had mom's phone number. And mom calls me. She's like, "Hey, did Robbie leave his phone in the back of your car?" And I pull over at that Home Depot in Meridian, and I look, and I was like, "Oh yeah, looks like his phone's back here," and it wasn't locked. And I'm like,
Oh, shit.
let's see what this guy's up to. And then that's when I had seen like all the pimping out stuff, and I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna tell him I've seen this or not. And then I came back to the cabana, and then I handed you your phone. And as I was driving, I was like, I got to do it. So I rolled down my window. I was like, "Hey, Robbie, hey, make sure you lock your phone next time." And your look on your eyes was just like, and I was like, "Have a good day."
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Oh man," because it was disturbing to read that, like to see how low things were. Like it's not funny, but it's like interesting to look back on it now. But like they always say that drug addicts make some of the best entrepreneurs because they're so determined to get what they need to get.
Yeah.
That you'll be willing to do anything. And I've told you that before because you'll be like, I'm going to Jelly Roll today.
Yeah.
Like,
I was determined.
so you used your old Mav shirt to get in, to try to sneak in. They caught you. It kicked you out, and you're like, "I'm just gonna panhandle until I get enough money."
See,
I'm like, "Dude, if you're willing to do this ghetto ass shit of panhandling just to get into Jelly Roll, like, why don't you put that into like doing something for good?" And you're like, "I'm going to Jelly Roll."
I think that's when it started clicking when you said that, because I was like, you know what? If I did put half the time as I did into this stupid shit, it'd be better, and it did. But yeah, that Jelly Roll concert, I'm lucky.
That was just Boise Music Festival, right?
Yeah, that was just Boise Music Festival. But with all that whole pimping thing, in my defense, when we moved from Utah, because the whole thing is we have the cartel in Salt Lake City, and we have the Hondurans in Salt Lake City. So it's literally, there's a no wait game for black tar heroin ever. You just go up there and you just hang out on the train. Not even 15 minutes. Somebody with a fake ass fucking cast on the corner of the street. 40, boom, boom, back on the train. Maybe 20 minutes I can come back with a bag. And I knew I was going to die in Utah, so I came back to Idaho. But the pimping thing was to get around in Utah because it was snowing. A little too cold to live in the rooms, but I still had a job at Solitude Ski and Snow Resort. So I forgot about that. That was pretty interesting, driving an Impala up to Solitude's Ski and Snow Resort with no snow tires. Yeah, man, the prostitution was supposed to stop, but I had to. I don't know if it matters. I don't want to glorify it or anything, but there was no kissing, only condoms. I don't know. You might be in trouble for talking about this. But I thought that was cool because we met these millionaires, like millionaires upon millionaires, and she still stuck by my side. So I was like, damn, this bitch is down to ride or die. But I think it was just the drugs. Now looking back I'm in a relationship now where we're completely, she completed a program out here in Idaho that's absolutely near impossible, which is called drug court. And she graduated that, and we both have sobriety. So I have 2+ years and she has 3+ years. So looking back on that, yeah, that was only supposed to be in Salt Lake, but we were thinking in our head, you got to do what you got to do, just to see another living day, or in ours, in our thinking at that time, just to get another hit of that black off that tinfoil. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it sounds like it's not too hard to get the hard stuff done, huh?
not in Utah. That's why I had to leave. I knew I was gonna die there. I had all the signs. I actually had to Narcan myself on Christmas. I tell you that one. Okay, so I overdosed on heroin and I overdosed on methamphetamine, and I could feel out of body things happening already. I know the signs and everything. It's the uncontrollable falling asleep. And it's so my heart's going, and it's also going like, so it's kind of like making a beat. And so I'm not trying to laugh.
What a sick beat.
I know, right? I'm not trying to laugh or anything. So I had I had a not a no log. What the fuck do they call those things? I have those all the time. Narcan. So I had to Narcan myself on Christmas, and sadly it was Christmas. We were in the whole addiction part of it because I was still punishing myself for my sponsee dying and things like that. And wow, I did way too much, and I was actually supposed to be at the hotel all through Christmas. I stayed out in my car, and I Narcan myself in my car, and I shit you not, there was the angel of death over my car, over the car, and it whooshed away, and then my body dropped into a really blue. I felt my body was completely blue and cold, and it would get hot, and then get really, really cold, and then it would get hot, and then really, really cold, and then hot. And I was preparing myself to die, and I knew every time I picked up that tinfoil that this is the last day I could be living, and I still continued to do it, and I still to this day don't understand and don't know why I did. And when this fentanyl thing was going around, like I told you, I was doing 10 blues a day, and it wasn't harming me. Like I look at my ID, I didn't think it was that noticeable. Oh man, let's see if I can find it. I thought I was just fine. I mean, you could blur out actually, that's not even my address anymore, but yeah, dude.
I don't know.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, that's all right. They get the idea. Man.
Yeah.
I remember you at Thanksgiving. I don't even know if you remember I was there.
Yeah, you were there.
We weren't
there.
talking. We were both pissed at each other.
Yep.
Because you were still mad at me because I kicked you out, and you thought I was mad, and I kicked you out mainly because I couldn't trust you.
I was playing the victim, though, at the same time.
Oh, for sure.
I broke a cardinal rule for, being in my house, and now I know what that is like because I just had to kick out my soon-to-be father-in-law. I don't know if you want to call him that, but yeah, I understood that completely. Understood.
I just didn't know anybody I didn't want anybody over that I couldn't trust. And then you had done me a solid. You were painting my cabinets all weekend long. And I just told you, I was like, hey, make sure nobody comes over that I don't know.
Yeah.
And I also said, don't put my dogs out together because one was in heat, but we'll let that go.
Yeah.
Anyway, ended up with some puppies, but you almost got away with it. But you left the pizza boxes out from eating, and it wasn't your name on the receipts. It was your girlfriend's name, and I knew your girlfriend's name.
Oh, son of a bitch. I was wondering what the hell. But no, I mean...
And then that's when I was like, I think I gave you a week to get out. And then, I mean, rightfully so. You probably were pissed at me. But I think that was also after you just got 2 DUIs in under a month.
Yeah, the Vegas, and then came back here to Idaho.
And then, so I mean, yeah, alcohol has been a downfall for sure. I touched on this the other day on the podcast, but
yeah, fuck alcohol.
When you were in recovery, I'm
in recovery.
No, I mean, like, this is back when you were in AA and all that, going through all that. This is like 2 years, last year, whatever it was. And actually the last day that I ever drank, and I had you drive me while I was drunk. And I was like, what the hell? How messed up is that I'm having my brother that's going through AA drive me because I'm drunk? Remember?
Yeah, I thought it was responsible. I didn't think it was anything of it at the time, but
No, like it was cool of you to do that for me and everything, but like for me to look back and it's crazy how many times I've given you advice that I didn't take myself. And I had to like just look at that and be like, if it's good enough for him, why shouldn't I stop drinking? I was, drinking a lot. I never got in trouble. I guess that's the difference between, that's what we always say at the prison too, is like the difference between a lot of these guys and us is just we didn't get caught, but I know I've done drinking and driving. I've done some stupid stuff. I've said a lot of stupid stuff when I've been drinking, but like how selfish of me to ask my brother that's recovering alcoholic to drive me while I'm drunk. Like that's.
Can you say you drink and drive on here?
Okay. I didn't get caught.
Before you were a CO?
No, this is while I was being a CO.
You're not going to get in trouble?
I mean.
We'll take that out. But yeah, I get it. But I think in the end, what you're trying to get at is you had to light a fire under my ass for me to thrive, because you could see the potential that I had to be, and what I could be. And honestly, if you didn't not let me come back all those times, because I couldn't even trust me. Like, Dealey couldn't even trust me in his house. He took me to the homeless shelter. And that's what people don't get, is I don't have family out here where I can just go to mom's house or whatever and just go onto the couch and be like, oh, fucked up again. No, our parents are like fucking 6 hours away. So I pulled my bootstraps up, as they call it, or whatever, and I went to a homeless shelter and I stuck it out. And I reached insanity, though. I swear to God, you can cook your brain sleeping in the sun all the time. I swear to God, you can cook it, dude. I swear to God. Because in jail, it felt like it was a relief. I was okay with it. I was like, you know what? I'm homeless anyway. I don't give a fuck. I'm homeless anyway. I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Like, because being under the sun it sucked. I think I was passing out from heat exhaustion. Now I look back at it, I'd walk and walk and walk and walk and walk. Everything would be completely soaked. And I'd just be by a stop sign, and before I know it, I'm just laying on my back, and then just for a second, because I'm tired, I have nowhere to go anyway, so I'm just chilling there, and then fucking fell asleep for 4 hours straight. Nobody even really cared, you know what I mean? And this was before, this is while being sober. So doing this while being sober and still going through heroin withdrawals. So understand, I was still going through heroin withdrawals while being homeless downtown in a place full of blues. That was the hardest thing, which is fentanyl, for anybody who doesn't know what the blues are. And so I have a food cart, and I have like probably thousands and thousands of grams of sugar, because I got nothing but gummy worms and Dr. Pepper. It's the only thing that's keeping my head from like not shifting and shit and making me feel all woozy and stuff. And it happened for like a good 6 to 8 months, and I did it cold turkey. And for the longest time, I'm like, man, I'm doing this cold turkey. They got people on Suboxone, they got people on all these other things. Like, are they actually like really quitting it? Do I need to have something too? I mean, like, and then it builds up and builds up and builds up, and then I tried that kratom shit, and I'm like, it feels the same. It feels the same as like a painkiller, but I'll still see the next day. You know what I mean? And I was dealing with that last winter. Kratom was just about every day. It got too bad to where you'll be okay. I'm not glorifying it by any means, but if you have opiate addiction or whatever, and it keeps you away from the blue pills, it will actually kill you. Just 2 tablespoons every 24 hours. Don't go over that, because what I was doing is I was doing 2 tablespoons in the morning, 2 tablespoons in the afternoon, 2 tablespoons in the night, 2 tablespoons before I go to sleep. So in the middle of the day, the next day, my tolerance is depleting by thousands, it feels like, because I'm sweating already. Like, I need more. I'm sweating already. Like, oh my God, I need more. Like, I'm still not justifying it or anything, but if it wasn't for that shit, I think I probably would have gave up, because there's some times in my life, and I just felt the weakest at that point, because I lost my girl. I got told by probation and parole not to fucking talk to her, and we had madly fell in love and shit. And we're both in the rooms, we're both clean and sober. Like, what the fuck did I do, And I just kind of challenged God on that. And, long story short, we're living together now. And like I said, we're raising all of our kids. Had Lily come down the last weekend, and she's in welding. I can't believe she's going to be 16. That's crazy.
Yeah, dude, that's crazy. I mean, I don't think a lot of people understand. I know I don't understand what it's like to be addicted to substances like that. I know alcohol is about the only thing that I've ever really maybe had an addiction to, but from everybody I've talked to working in the prisons, inmates and everything, like they have definitely said heroin's the hardest thing to kick. And for you to be able to have kicked that for what, over 2-3 years now?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a huge accomplishment. So that's just huge. I don't even know what else to say about that. I mean, yeah, kudos to you, dude.
And I think that's why I vibe with Suicide Boys the most, because I was doing the same thing as they were doing it through their music. That's why I never went to any of their concerts, is because I was doing it. And every girl I hung out with, this is Suicide Boys actually grew on me, because every girl I hung out with that I was doing heroin with always had it going. And it was either Grey Gods or it was fucking, Carlton or whatever. But Scrim actually is the same age as me, and he's also clean and sober, such as I am. And I think I really want to sit down and talk shop with him, not music wise, but more like the mental health aspect and things like that. Because we're the same fucking age. Didn't know that. We're the same fucking age, and I think we've gone through like similar things. Like I don't know if he's ever experienced, juvenile detention centers or group homes or anything like that, but definitely he's doing great, and he used to look like shit. But I think that's how I resonate with him so much, is because he talks about the heroin and how it like takes over you, and the meth, and how it's like basically spirit, and it controls you and things like that.
What do you think is a lot of the big misconceptions around men's mental health? That's such a huge thing. I think just seeing a lot in social media, it's starting to get a little bit more light. But mental health for men, I think, for me personally, is like you were talking about. You go through so much shit and then you just bury it. Like for me, I know I just said it's in the past. I can't deal with it. Like it's under the rug. But like that shit creeps up on you. How do you think about mental health for dudes?
With the mental health thing and how people are like, oh, well, just don't be sad. Well, just don't be anxious. Well, don't just be that. If I fucking knew how to do that, don't you think I'd fucking do that and I wouldn't have a fucking issue or a problem? You just can't shut it off. That's what I don't get. It's like people are like, well, he's just super sad. He just needs to fucking do something in his life. He needs to exercise. Bro, I skateboard. I snowboard. I can even bike. I'm the most active motherfucker. I just trenched a fucking pickaxe for the sprinkler system for my boss's house. He has a fucking baseball diamond and a softball diamond, I mean, jeez. It's not something that's easy. And like I was telling my brother before, like, and I've told people too, like, I'm still not out of the woods. And if it happens, then, just know it's not your guys' fault. It's just something I struggle with every day that just says it'll be better if, you've gone away. And it's not anything you can actually control or help. And that's what people got to understand, is it's just something that I wish I didn't think it, but yeah, I think about it every day. But mental health is like two cords, and they're connected. But if you have mental health issues, they're not connected, and they're still trying to make a connection every time. That's the best way I can say it. It's not a disability. It's more of a fucking super strength. I'm a superhero because of it. I have determination out the crazy wazoo. If I want something done, I'm gonna get it done. And if I want something, I'm gonna get it. And I was living in these, they call them, I don't know why they call them halfway houses. Anyways, this lady rents out every one of the rooms. I was living with 9 other roommates, and now I have a 2-bedroom house with my chick. But with mental health, I don't know, man. If you need to cry, fucking cry, bro. You're not a pussy if you cry, because shit gets really fucked up, and it's the only way you can have an outlet. You're not a pussy if you cry. You can't think your next thoughts. I just can't stress that enough, that people get so hung up on what they're thinking and why they're thinking it and how it ever came about. But men's mental health that go hand in hand with PTSD, with military and things like that. And I'm pretty sure people know what I'm talking about, where you can't control or you just know that's just the way you feel and that's just the way it is.
Have you ever reached out in those low, dark times? Or do you just try and handle it yourself?
Honestly, if I didn't have my mental breakdown, it would have gotten really close. But I went to Cottonwood Mental Hospital, and they got me on medications, and they got me on my antidepressants, and I've been taking them since I was 8. I was a fucking lab rat for Ritalin, you know, and I need them, and that's what kind of sucks. But thank God, like, I think I'm growing out of them because I was taking Concerta the other day, and it made my heart thumping out of my body like I was tweaking. I was like, what is that? And that's what made me look up that you can grow out of your ADHD when you're 35, and I haven't taken Concerta in 2 months.
Wow. And that one's just for your ADHD?
Yeah, and it's amphetamine too, yeah.
Damn. Yeah, I remember when you had gone to that mental hospital, and I just had to keep getting updates from Mom because I think that was the only person that was getting updates. And, it was kind of a relief just to know that you weren't on the streets anymore, because I think that was the hardest part about when you were on the streets. We didn't know whether you were alive or not. I remember there was one time, it was like February or something, Angie called me. And she's like, I don't talk to Angie too much. I tried to more and more, but for her to call, I knew it had to be kind of bad. She was like crying, and she's like, I think we lost Robbie. I don't remember. You just weren't talking to anybody. I don't even think you were in Idaho at that point. I don't know where you were at. It was,
I took Mom's rental, and I lived in it for like 2 months.
Yeah, I didn't know. Nobody knew where you were at, but she like legit thought that you were dead, and she was like, "I'm pretty sure that because the other chick wouldn't answer Mom's call or anything either that you were with." And man, it gets all crazy. Like, yeah, I really thought you were dead.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like I was dead inside, that's for sure, mentally. Yeah, you are just a shell of a body after a while. You can't feel your heart anymore. You don't even know if it's beating, honestly. I know it sounds weird, but you do the drugs so much that you don't get those tall tale signs anymore, that your heart's skipping beats anymore, or anything. It's just everything's so numb that you're just basically a walking, talking shell of a man, to be honest with you. And I think I had enough when I came across this blues out here in Idaho, and I figured out that there was no heroin. And I did one, and I fell asleep for 36 hours. I thought I was dead, and that's not the first time I did that. But in the state that you're at, you really don't care. And that's what's scary about it, is that every heroin addict or every person, you can actually see how bad it is. It's like probably the worst drug, I think, because you can see how bad it is. You know you should fucking stop, but you just keep doing it, and it feels almost as if you're possessed. You're like, oh, I know I should stop doing this, but oh, fuck, help me keep on doing it. It could be my last day, but oh, here I go. I keep on doing it. But that's one thing I think is crazy is heroin. You can actually see your life actually tear down in front of you. Like meth, you get into your psychosis, battles and things like that. And I really do think you can contact the devil through meth. No joke.
Yeah. That's crazy. I mean, you got to think that there's a reason you're still alive after all the shit that you've gone through. And like, I don't know the statistics on health and all that other stuff, but I'm pretty sure another person in the same scenarios and everything else that you've gone through would have been dead a long time ago.
Yeah. I think the hardest thing would be is that I didn't really have a normal childhood. I don't get high school. I didn't really be in high school. I wasn't really in in junior high, you know, I got my first pubic hair and I had to tell a fucking counselor at a group home. I think that's it fucks me up the most is that I didn't really have a home to go to every day. I was always in group homes, so the schools were state based, so you can't run away.
That whole white privilege thing.
Yeah, didn't exist with me,
yeah.
man. I was neutral with everyone though. I can quote like Friday and Next Friday and Don't Be a Menace in South Central, Drink Your Juice in the Hood, and I'd just be cracking up those jokes, and then they'd be like, "No, this kid's cool. He's all right." So I always made them laugh and shit. That's how that's how I'd hang out with all the kids that would look sketchy and like they're either gonna stab me or something or whatever. And don't break eye contact. Don't. If you do, you lost. You'll probably get robbed or stabbed.
You think that music was a big outlet for you just as an escape in your younger years, and that's what led you into being an artist and doing your own things like that?
100%, but I was doing it for the wrong reason. I was doing it just because I could rhyme okay, and there was a studio nearby, so I was doing it at first to get girls. But now I'm just kind of doing it just to get the message out of mental health, because it's real, man. I think it's bigger than all of us actually can understand how big mental health and keeping it, you know, on the right track. Like if you really have issues, I strongly suggest a counselor, but find a counselor that actually takes notes about you and doesn't have to keep asking you questions the next day. Like, hey, you took notes about me. Will you please tell me the notes you took? And they have to tell you the notes they took. And if you get somebody that hasn't really been saying shit or talking or even remember anything that you have said, then that should be a red flag right there. You should not be talking to that counselor, because I've ditched so many counselors because I'm like, okay, what are you doing? You're just counting down the minutes so you can get your check from Medicaid, you know. So
how about support groups? I mean, besides counselors, do you have anybody that you talk to that's not in the medical field? Or, I mean, obviously, like, I'm always open for you to talk to, but you don't reach out to me too much, so.
Not as in-depth as this is, because I know we live different lives and stuff, and sometimes I think I think I'm making my business your problem, or my problem your issue, or vice versa, or whatever. So I won't get too in-depth with it. But yeah, this is the closest and probably the most raw and uncut, honest answers you'll probably hear from me ever, honestly.
I think that's been a reoccurring theme with a lot of the guys I've talked to, is that as guys, we don't really talk to people about our issues, but when you do open up, you find that a lot of us have the same kind of issues, maybe not the exact same specifics, may not be the exact same addictions or vices that you run to, but hard times, not thinking that it matters what you've gone through, or just burying it under the rug, not bringing it up. Like, I can get rid of it. But I don't know about you, but like that shit always creeps up at the worst times. And yeah, I found a lot of people have the same exact thing, though. They really do struggle with these times of not feeling enough or different things, even if on the outside it looks like they're successful and they have everything going for them, but behind closed doors, they got just as much issues as you. They might just have a different facade.
Yeah. Definitely. But the thing is with dudes and talking to other dudes, we're afraid of rejection at the same time too. Like, are you being a pussy with me? Like, we're brought up with that macho fucking lifestyle. Like, oh, you're just being a pussy. Quit, get the sand out of your vagina, But like, if you're really feeling like tomorrow is just not gonna work out for you, then you gotta talk to someone, because tomorrow's another day, and as you say, tomorrow never comes, right?
Right.
Tomorrow never comes. But if you feel like you don't I think that's what I struggle with as like a guy, I guess I would say, reaching out to other males or whatever, or just like, hey man, I'm having a fucked up days, is that risk of being rejected and just being called a pussy, and then now you're just like, well, fuck you guys. I guess you guys don't really care about me anyway. But and it's all feely and it's all touchy and and then you also got to understand it's also health, and that's why they say mental health. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of guys that are afraid of being vulnerable.
Ain't nothing wrong with being vulnerable.
Yeah. I know I've asked a couple people, like, hey, man, you want to come on and talk about, you've gone through a lot of shit. You want to just talk about it? And I don't like being vulnerable with people, man. It's like, and I think that a lot of people are afraid of thinking about what other people are going to think of them, when actually those people don't think those things. It's just our perception of their perception. You know what I mean? Like, I know for myself, I have a friend that's coming on this Wednesday, and she's going to interview me. And so this podcast will come out next week. But I mean, I'm deathly afraid of it, to be honest with you, because I've said like little snippets of my life, but like this is going to be a deep dive, and I know that I'm already like, I'm gonna fucking cry. I know I'll just have to edit this shit out because I don't want to be a pussy.
No, you don't be a pussy. You won't be a pussy, dude. You got a good story. From what I know, I'd love to hear more on it for sure, but I think it's something maybe someone else is going through.
And that's what it is too, is like, someone told me, if you're afraid of telling your story because you're scared of what other people are going to think, and it might help one other person out there save their life, or think that they can reach out to you because they have some correlation with your life, and now you can help them get better. Like, you're just being selfish by not telling your story, and that might cost somebody else their life. So are you willing to let someone else die because you didn't want to appear vulnerable and help them out of what helped, or tell your story of what helped you get through these points? Yeah. Like, if you got this information, you might as well tell someone else, because if it helped you 9 out of 10 times, it can help someone else, or they could just take a little nugget from what it is. And if that can even get them a little bit closer to their goals, why wouldn't you do that just because you're afraid of what people are going to think of you?
Yeah, I think that's one thing you got to get over, is not giving a fuck what people think about you. Because are you doing this podcast for yourself, or are you doing this podcast for others? Because if you give a fuck what other people are talking about or whatever, you're doing the podcast for them, not you. If you have it in your heart and your soul and everything, and you definitely want to share your message, like, with, I'm not going to go in depth with it, but I know some of it. And if you want to share that message, you're not going to be a pussy because of it. Childhoods are very very relatable on many scales for a lot of people, believe it or not.
Yeah. They might not have the exact same details, but everyone's got their trauma. Everyone's had people die in their life, how they react to those deaths.
Yeah.
Like you said, that in 2014, that 6 months for our families was crazy, because Grandpa died, Scott died, my Uncle Larry died.
Yeah, I forgot about your Uncle Larry. Another reason why I'm here in Idaho.
And then, that's why was that why I came down?
Well, it actually just came into...
that might have been, actually.
They kind of correlated with each other, and it's actually a blessing. It was a blessing.
Because, actually, I forgot about that. That might have been... I think I came down with my wife and kids for that funeral, and I think I made a special trip back down after talking to you, and I said I'll be back down, and I emptied out the car.
Peeing in the Garden of Eden. I remember that.
That's a truck stop. It's not a metaphor for anything. It's a truck stop in Twin Falls.
Yeah, peeing in the Garden of Eden. Yeah.
So I think that I went to my Uncle Larry's funeral, and as we were down in Utah talking to you, and then I talked to you, and I took my wife and my only daughter at that point back to Idaho, and I cleared out the whole car seats, everything, put all the seats down, and then I had just made a special trip, just me, to come get you.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
That was the best thing too, and Tiffany did not want me to leave, and I knew it was the best thing for me to do. I didn't think I was gonna get anywhere, and I don't think I would be half of what I don't even think I'd be a quarter of what I am today, because I didn't even find cabinetry. I didn't find anything. My true love out here.
Well, you told me you'd be dead.
Yeah,
Dead or in prison if you didn't leave Idaho or Utah.
100%. I'm more than 100% dead. Cause more than 100% dead. That's why I left again. Came back to Idaho because I knew I wouldn't die.
I think that there's such a huge thing about just changing your environment. Have you ever heard the statistics on how many Vietnam War vets were addicted to heroin while they were in Vietnam?
I mean, I believe it. It definitely would help, especially with all the carnage going around.
They had all those Vietnam vets were addicted to heroin, and it was a big epidemic actually. But as soon as, I don't know the exact statistics, but 80-90% of them, as soon as they left their environment of Vietnam and came back to the States, they were clean. Some of them held on to that, but most of them, just by changing their environment, were better off. So I think there's a huge thing, and they just dropped their addiction
with no relapses.
Right.
Then what
just
the
because
fuck?
they changed their environment.
That's true. Yeah.
Because you had to change your environment,
That's
and
true.
you knew that why you wanted to get off the trains in Utah, and you knew it was so easy to get. Yeah. Obviously, if you're looking for it, you can find whatever you want. Because
not here, thank God.
Just changing your environment, even if it's just.
But changing your environment, completely taking you out of your comfort spot. I agree 100%. I know exactly where you're going with that, and that's how I can understand that every one of my friends that were, drug graduates coming out of the treatment centers one by one, dropped like flies because they took the same heroin dose. So pretty much all my friends through high school that meant anything to me are dead because of heroin, and that's another reason why I wanted to see what exactly it was, why it was so special, and why they needed to keep going back to it, because I keep losing all my goddamn friends. And I found out the hard way, but...
I think you found out for a reason, though. I mean,
yeah, I mean...
I just got to keep coming back to you're still alive.
Yeah.
How are you alive and all your friends are dead? You've come back from 4 deaths.
Yeah.
And, what do you think your purpose is?
I don't know, and that's another reason why I make my TikToks and make my music. And, I don't give a shit if you watch it. I don't give a shit if they watch it. But when I die, my kids are going to have their insight on
it's like
who
your
their
video
dad
diary.
Was. Yeah, it's video diaries, basically. That's all my Instagram is, and that's why I have a YouTube with it as well. So I can because I know TikTok not it's going to be around forever, but YouTube has, I can at least upload them to there. And my Instagram is still up. I just forgot the password. I lived a crazy life, dude. I was, when I was clean and sober, when I was out here before the baby mama left, I was doing good shit. I was, security for Korn and Breaking Benjamin. I did a bunch of concerts at the Knitting Factory. I was Snow the Product's fucking... bodyguard when she was doing her rapping and things like that. It only took I'm not even gonna sugarcoat this, one horny night to go over to a girl's house and think you can save everyone. You can't save everyone. I almost got her completely off of methamphetamine as a sponsor, still not drinking, still not doing nothing. All it took was just me going away from the meetings and not taking on those celebrations of those milestones that I've taken, and not going to get my little fucking keychain thing or whatever. It doesn't mean it's a piece of plastic. It shouldn't mean shit, but it only took 60 days. So I basically flushed years of sobriety down the drain. It only took 60 days of getting away from the rooms. You can't do it by yourself. You have to have a sponsor. I do have a sponsor, and you have to go to meetings. You have to have a tight circle, which I have my brother who's right there. I have my mom, and my daughter's a good support system too. She keeps me going. like you said, I'm here for a reason, died 4 times, so I'm still trying to figure it out, and I'm making the best of it, and I'm not having a shitty life doing it. Like, I'm still doing my cabinetry, but I'm moving up. Like, I'm starting to take full-on ass cabinets that I've already sprayed, already built. So I built them in the shop. So now even after I build them, because we're a mom and pop shop, now I'm going to be installing them in the houses. So we're talking like $30 an hour pretty soon. I'm not doing terrible. So thank God for that.
Right. I had to make a list for this podcast of like people I wanted to interview, right? And so I started making a list of entrepreneurs and business owners and people that had their own pages and their own, owning different shops, things like that. And I wanted to interview successful people, and I had to think about you. And I was like, success isn't just monetarily things. It's not just owning a business. It's not just being what people see, but like for someone to recover from drugs, from hard drugs, heroin, fentanyl, meth, alcohol, and go from living under a bridge, living in your car, dying, coming back to life, and now you're holding down a full-time job. You have your own place. Like, you have to redefine what success is, because success is just relative to the person.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just say just because you're not a business owner that you're not successful.
Yeah.
Like, you're alive, you're healthy, you're not addicted to drugs, and you're still here for a reason. You're helping others that may have the same issue. And if you can be that successful doing that, like, that's got to get some acknowledgement. And so I just had to rethink that for myself, because success isn't just monetary. It's in the eye of the beholder, and I think that deserves everybody to see what you've gone through, and that's why I wanted to interview you, just so that we could get that all laid out there. People may only see this crazy kid does these crazy, videos sometimes, or they want to call BS on your stories, because they are far-fetched and they're out there, but like, that was your life, and just because it wasn't their life doesn't mean it's not true.
Yeah.
It's not like a cookie cutter life. You didn't have a cookie cutter childhood. You didn't have a cookie cutter like everybody else. And that's got to get more normalized, that there's such a pressure to be, I don't know, I guess what everybody thinks is the cookie cutter way of being. But all those little things that you've had to go through have made who you are today. And it's never too late to even start getting that money or getting that success.
Like, success has many faces of successfulness, different faces.
And God might have just slowed you down to let a lot of that evil pass in front of you.
I heavily believe that.
Because if you would have got to that, and then you would have been really successful, and then you would have been sideswiped by all this evil that comes to you.
That's true. You
could have died.
Yeah, I did have the cabinet business when I came back down to Utah too for a second. And I was so far gone on the heroin, I was able to do like 1 month. But Angie, she said, this is not just you just, what do you call it? This isn't you just trying to take a feel for things. You're going a little overboard. I see you do things, and then you know to get off them. So she's not dumb. She's seen me on drugs before, and she knows that I get off them right away, and it never sticks on there. Apparently, if it wasn't for her, but I ran though. I don't care what anyone says. Like, you quit your first time. You're not ready to quit. Don't know why you're not ready to quit. I don't know if it's just because it's the bugs that feel like it's under your skin, or if it's like the uncontrollable way that your tongue feels from not having it. I don't know. Or the way that your brain feels like it's being smushed into a wall side to side. I don't know. I don't have those answers, but that's how it felt for me.
If you could go back in time to give advice to your younger self, what do you think you'd tell yourself through those tough years?
I don't know, man. I know everybody else would say, like, oh, I would redo this, redo that. Honestly, that's the way my life's come out to be. It's just I need to learn the hard way. And I'm even doing that with my parenting. Is like even my stepkids need to learn the hard way, but they learn a very valuable lesson in it. And that's why I'm so strict with them. I'm strict with them like Ron was strict with me. And I love every minute that he did that for me, even though I thought he was a fucking asshole at the time. And my stepkids probably think I'm a fucking asshole too, because I'm basically doing everything Ron did, you know, not like beating them or anything, just putting out there what accountability is, what denying is. I'm even going to have them do what do you call it? A book report or some kind of project on all the thinking errors with like changing the subject, lying, and just so they can get all these definitions down so they can be better in life instead of just having to make excuses. Because boys make excuses, men make changes. You know what I mean?
I think that one of my favorite sayings is you can have excuses or results, not both. It's actually Arnold Schwarzenegger that says that, not me. But I like the saying.
I like the saying too. But yeah, the changes. Fuck, dude. I wouldn't change a word. I wouldn't change a thing going through it. Because like you said.
Not changes, but would you give yourself any advice going through those tough years?
Don't be so quick to judge. Wait till you see the full picture before you assume what is about to happen or what is happening. Don't just think you know information just because you know a glimpse or glimmer of what is being said or what is being talked about. Because all those assumptions have led you to nowhere, and you've been wrong 100,000% every fucking time. So do not assume. Ask questions.
I've got to a point in my life, something bad happens, and I just know that there's a plan, and I'm like, all right, this sucks right now, but bring it on. I know that there's a plan that I can't see, and I can't question this now. Sitting back, looking at my whole life, like there's no way that there's not a plan for this. Even little shit like waking up late to go to work, and now you're, 2 minutes behind a fatal car crash, and you've seen that, you passed out. You're like, wow,
yeah,
that could have been me. Maybe not. Maybe it could have been, but it really makes you think. Like there's higher shit that I don't even understand out there.
Yeah, I get that too. That's happened to me too. It sounds like for some reason, like I just forgot my coffee, so I had to turn around real quick. And on that same road, I see a wreck, and I'm like, damn, that could have been me. Like, I understand exactly what you're talking about because that happens to me all the time. I don't know if you're knowing numbers. We're not going down that route, but I have a lot of recurring numbers too. But
I actually went down a rabbit hole this week on numbers.
yeah, mine is 222.
Mine's 11.
Yours is 11?
Just 11.
Or just 11 all the time?
Okay, this is going to be a weird rabbit hole, but let's do it. All right, so
mine's 222.
I see 11 everywhere. Okay. I wake up at 2:45 in the morning. 2 plus 4 plus 5 is 11.
Okay.
When I went through this last academy I went through, they give you a fake gun to carry. It was number 11. My academy number was 33, which is an 11 number. If you add up all the days that my kids were born, 6, 5, 25, 30, that adds up to 66. Which is an 11.
11.
There's I think, what's the other one? Oh, I was born in 1993. 1 plus 9 plus 9 plus 3 is 22. 11.
That is crazy, dude.
There's so many different things that are like 11 in my life. And I just see it everywhere. Like I'll wake up in the middle of the night, it'll be 11:11, or it'll be something with an 11, or like I just see 11 everywhere I look. And I don't want to sound like crazy or nothing, but like I brought it up to Ashley. I'm like, I don't know what's going on
thought
here.
You were too until you brought that up, and I was just like, okay, it's like the movie 23.
Maybe it's because I'm like consciously aware of it now, so like I just see it. But there's a lot of 11s in my life, and so I went down this whole rabbit hole of like what numbers mean, and like 11's like a master number, and it means like you're more open to things that people can't see, and wisdom, and it's a whole rabbit hole I could go down, and I don't know, I see it too many times for it not to have something.
Yeah.
That's why I haven't put up the sign yet, but I called this Studio 11.
Studio 11. Nice.
So eventually we'll get the sign up, but 222, that's,
Yeah, 222 and
that
3.
goes back to 11, but
So there's 3 and then there's 222.
11, 22, and 33 all are master numbers, just so you know. But
Yeah, it's so crazy. Yeah, and I went down a rabbit hole too, and yeah, I was saying that shit. It was crazy.
I think I believe in energies. I'm not like everything's an energy. Money's an energy. The way you live is an energy. I used to be such a negative person. I would argue with my boss over anything just to argue. I'd just be an argumentative person, and I would bring up ideas to him that would be good ideas actually, and rightfully so. He'd shut me down right away, even if it was a good idea, because I was just arguing all the time. So I had to switch my mind up and be like, man, all this negative energy that I'm putting out is feeding off to other people, and they don't even want to trust me, which why would you want to if you're just being a dick all the time? So I started like doing an audit of my emotions and what I was doing, and it's like the cup could be half full or half empty. It's like, which way do you want to look at it? So if you could just look at things with a positive energy, the world isn't as it is. The world is as you are.
Yeah.
So whether you want to see the bright in the world or you want to see the negative in the world, your algorithm is going to feed you what you want to see.
Right.
Like there's algorithms online, and then there's algorithms in your real life. And just because you have one bad thing that might have lasted 10 seconds, are you going to let that fuck up the rest of your day? Or are you just going to like, okay, let's move on. I got the whole rest of my day. I could let this go on. Or people at work sometimes be like, man, we got a long day ahead of us. And I'm like, we just got a day, guys. It's work. I woke up this morning. Like, I can't get any better than that. There's people that didn't wake up this morning. So if you can just be so grateful and use that energy of like, I woke up, there's people that didn't. How can I have a bad day? I can't have a bad day unless I'm dead. And if I'm dead, I won't know.
Exactly.
Being positive
And our time is
will
precious.
get you so much more in life.
With energies and frequencies, I still think that it's a waste of my energy, the waste of the frequency. Grandpa used to tell us how we can put our shields up to keep all the negative energies out. It's like I'm picturing this ball that goes 6 feet below my 6 feet below my feet, or 6 inches below my feet, and 6 inches above my head. And it surrounds me, and it keeps all negative activity out. And he said he set his shield every day. I miss that man every day, but I think there's a little bit of belief to that. If you set a shield, have you ever tried setting a shield?
What do you mean, like just the whole
Blocking negative energies,
blocking out the
frequencies.
haters?
Yeah, so you're not able to pick up on it, I guess you could say. It keeps all the negative away because you've set your shield, so it's impenetrable until you set that shield again 24 hours later. That's what Grandpa told me. He was very wise, way above his. It's crazy. He changed everything for Grandma. Went completely LDS, and he was a drinking, smoking fool before. And then he went completely LDS for Grandma.
That's one of my regrets, honestly, is just from my childhood. It's not really a regret, nothing I could have controlled. But I lost a lot of time with a lot of my family because of some evil people in my life that wouldn't let me be just one evil chick, whatever, not people. But, you know, my stepmom really brainwashed me and kept me out of a lot of people's life, and I missed out so much time on people that have died, and I'll never get that time back. And that's one of the things I regrets. Not like I can't regret it because it wasn't my choice, but I just wish that I could have got that time back. And I think that's why I'm so focused on time right now, is like one of my big focuses, because that's the one currency where you can't get back. You can make more money, you can't get more time.
Yeah.
But like all those years that I had to go through, Just lonely years. No friends, no family. I can't get those years back, and people are dead, and I can't mend those relationships. Luckily, I've been able to mend some of the ones that are still alive, but like just so much time and growth and like valuable years that I'll never be able to get back, and I just have to try and keep that into like the forefront of everything that I do now, and learn from those mistakes and learn from again, it's not a mistake, it's just like learning from those misfortunes and not pass those off to my kids. And it's hard because I only got so many years with my kids, and I don't want them to lose out on that. And I don't know, man. It's a rough one, but
I think the difference is you actually hang out with your kids. You're not always taking business trips, and you're not always left alone. I think that's a huge thing that is the difference that you're doing. That happened in your childhood, so you're doing good. But I could only imagine how lonely it would be. I mean, I was in and out of, like I said, detention centers and shit like that, but I can only imagine just being abused within your home by the people you think love you. It's just a whole other whole other thing. It was crazy. You took me shooting one day, and I thought that, from my perspective, I just thought you had everything given to you, and your dad was better than, always has all the money and blah blah blah, and you set me straight. And I don't wish that upon anyone. Oh God, buddy. I don't wish that upon anyone at all. And there's nothing you can really do because you're a kid, You just abide by whoever you're living under's rules. Yeah. I mean, both comes from different walks of life, but you've done way more with no credit card debt, into your own house, podcast, doing everything you want. And that's a huge thing, man. You're my little brother. Little brother. I tell people that. They're like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, yeah. He definitely does not look older than me.
Yeah. I think it's it's just not judging a book by its cover, man. You don't.
Yeah, it's I can't wait to actually see that podcast. It'll be interesting. Very interesting one, but you could put yourself up on there with entrepreneurs too, man. I mean, shit, dude, you were taking your golf clubs and remaking them and then selling them, and then you were selling all this used shit online, and with your side hustles, making like 20-30 grand, dude. Like, shit, like that's some hustler enterprise type shit.
It gave me some hope when you start studying other successful people, and one of the big traits from successful people is they've had a very traumatic childhood, so it kind of resets their chaos levels, where a lot of other business owners might have quit because it got so hard and they're so stressed. But the people that have had such a rough childhood from the beginning, they're kind of reset. Their chaos levels are so much higher that when somebody else on a level 10, that's like a level 3 for them.
Yeah.
Like when they're tripping about, oh yeah, I don't know what we're gonna do. We can't go on, whatever. It's like, dude, I had years where I wasn't eating more than 1 meal every 3 days, bro. I had all this other stuff, and so like if you can reframe of like, I went through all this bullshit because it's going to make me a better dad. It's going to make me a better business person. Like restructuring this bullshit that I've gone through to be able to say that I went through this for a reason, and I may not know the best way to be a parent, but I sure know what makes a bad parent, or I know what doesn't. And if you can just know the bad stuff, do the exact opposite, right?
Yeah.
You could take that as anything in life. I don't know how to make a good podcast, but I sure know what would make a shitty one. Let me do the opposite.
Yeah.
You know, you could take that with anything it is.
I think you just need to take all the toxic people out of your life and just live it. Like I keep telling my girl, she keeps talking about past stuff, and I was like, does a river run backwards? Does it stop and take a break? I said, no, let's just keep going forward then. Let's keep moving forward because a river doesn't move backwards.
Yeah, gradually just get closer to your goal. You don't have to hit your goal, but let's take 3 steps forward towards the direction. One guy that was on this podcast, he said, you know, you're going to have a vision and you're going to be in the middle of a forest and you're not going to see the end. But whip your flashlight out and just see the next step. Just take that next step. Just take the next step. Pretty soon, you're going to make it out of the woods, but you're not going to see it. You just got to keep moving forward. If you can't see the end result, don't give up. Just take whatever you can do. Another guy said, use what you have already, whether that's pain in your life or that's emotions or whatever it is. Just use what you have. Use that pain to fuel your success. Don't use that pain to hold you back. It's not going to help you out. You have people relying on you. You have everything else that's going for you. Count the things that are going for you in your life and be grateful for that. I've had to sit back and do that myself. Like I come home and the house is a mess. You know, there's toys everywhere. And like I used to get on Ashley, which, you know, like, why is this house, you know, like, what have you been doing all day? She's got 4 kids at home. She's got working full time at home. Like bullshit. I'd say, I don't know, like how that woman stays with me is beyond me, but I have to restructure that thought too.
You got an
I got
autistic
4
son, though, too, dude.
I got 4 kids that can play with
Yeah.
toys. They're not bedridden. They're not in a wheelchair all day.
Or tablet kids.
Yeah. Like I need to just be grateful for what I have instead of not what I don't have. There's parents out there that I bet you would love to come home and see that their kids have made a mess because they're stuck in a wheelchair all day.
Yeah.
Things that like I take for granted.
Yeah, I think that's a gratitude list. That's where it goes from there, is just sitting down and writing down the things. That's how another thing that I've gotten through with my mental health and my depression and things like that is write a gratitude list. It's stupid as fuck to say, but I woke up breathing this morning. You know, I woke up without having to, go find another fix. I woke up not sick. I woke up with a great woman next to me. I have this, but I get so pent up on the things I don't have because I'm so good at what I do. I think I should have the world. And I think I should already be at like $20, $30 an hour. I mean, I am at 20 something dollars an hour, but I should be at $30 an hour or whatever. And I get stuck on that because I'm like, and then I start going in life like, oh, I don't deserve that. I don't deserve this. And I start like punishing myself. And that's another thing that goes hand in hand with mental health too, is I feel like I didn't deserve something, so I punish myself for it, whether it be that I can't go to Goodwill because I love Goodwill or something of that nature. I still, and it's a bad character defect. It's a bad character flaw to do, because then it also goes hand in hand with self-sabotage as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean going back to your gratitude list, it's huge. Yeah. I need to get back into doing the gratitude text of just texting people and being like, hey man, I'm just thankful you're in my life, man. Like,
yeah.
Like I know, it's middle of the day, whatever, but I just want you to know, man, I'm appreciative that you're in my life. And a lot of times people say all this nice shit when you're dead, at your funeral.
Yeah.
Like they would have probably loved to hear that when they were alive. Especially if in the day and age that we live in with men's mental health the way it is, you don't know what that person's going through, and you just text your buddy and say, hey man, like, you're a solid dude. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to be all touchy-feely, whatever. Just, hey man,
Yeah.
I'm glad to have you in my life. I miss you. Like, let's hang out sometime soon. Whatever it is, like, I don't know, reach out to those people that you don't talk to or that you assume never assume that they know that you care about them, or they, like I said, you can't get that time back. Time's precious.
Yeah. And then, like, there's those 4 agreements. It says, be impeccable with your word. Don't assume. And don't take things personal. So don't take things personal. Don't assume. And those other 2 I said earlier. Those are the 4 agreements in life. And you'll be okay. I didn't understand it at first, but my girl showed me it, and it shed some light. It's the 4 agreements. So, and the less you assume that you know about a person, or the less you do, you're creating a whole scenario, creating a whole thing in your head of a different perception or perspective of that person than what they really are. So you've already painted a picture of what they are, and they're 100% probably not that person.
What would you say for young men out there listening that might be facing addiction or mental health challenges? Like, what messages or advice would you want to share with them?
It's going to sound stupid and it's going to sound cliche or whatever, but go to a meeting, even if you're high. Don't tell them you're high, because you're just going to get some of those weird people. But just go there and just go listen, because you never know. Somebody could be going through that same thing, or could be battling those same demons, or something that is very relatable that is said in those meetings. And if meetings are too far gone, go check yourself into a detox center. I've done that twice.
What would you say for mental health? Maybe someone not facing addiction, but they're just having some bad, overstressed or depressed, or what do you say for the mental health side?
Tomorrow's another day. Don't let today, basically play out the rest of your life. Don't let a temporary thing be a permanent solution. And I need to take my own advice on that a lot as well. So I'm no different than the next person that's going to be listening to this.
I think a lot of times we don't need more advice. We just need to be reminded. Or we don't need more education. We just need to be reminded of the things that we already know. Just need to apply it to ourselves. Like I came back to saying, like, I was always giving you good advice on what you should do on your life, and I wasn't even taking my own advice. So
yeah,
it's a application issue, not an education issue. I think it's really good for guys to just find someone close to them that they can trust, not feel like you're gonna be stressed out or just start a conversation. Like, I remember my buddy Garrett. We went to Montana last year to go do a work trip, and like on our way there, like I just barely started telling him like some of the stuff that happened in my life, and he was just shocked, like, because he's known me for years, and like, oh man, I would have never had any idea. But shout out to him, like he always is helping me out and stuff now, and just finding that support in your life, and people aren't gonna judge you. I don't think
I won't.
The real ones won't judge you.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, you can hit up my TikTok if you're feeling or anything kind of type of way. It's always open, and even I'll reach out to people if I start going through TikTok and I see that somebody's saying that I'm giving up, this is today and this is blah, blah, blah. I'll immediately message them and be like, what's going on? Why are you thinking this way? How I don't know you, but, everyone, deserves to be talked to if they're feeling some kind of certain way. Don't just keep scrolling by and be like, oh, what a fucking loser. He's just a suicidal weirdo.
Yeah. think you found your purpose, dude. I mean, if you're there to be able to share like you've done for the last 2 hours here, and now you're building that connection with people and you're a trusted source, you've walked the walk, and now you can talk the talk, and not just because you read it in some psychology book, like some professor or whatever told you this is how you think. Like, no, you lived this. You know, for me, like when I wanted to become a fitness coach, I couldn't be a fitness coach being a fat piece of shit, right? So
I mean, you could, but you know, it's
so
the
like
motivation.
no one's gonna listen to me. So like, I wanted to be able to put myself through everything, to be able to be like, I know what you're going through, man. Like I'm a fat kid at heart. I still love eating peanut butter cookies. I love all that shit, but like,
Frozen
I can't.
Go-Gurts.
Yeah. It's hard taking advice, say like a bigger dude trying to lose some weight, from a dude that's been shredded his whole life.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
It's hard to actually take them seriously.
So I
'cause
think
you're
that-
like, what?
I think that the shit that you think is holding you back from being able to help others is actually the stuff that gets you the closest.
Yeah.
You're not going to want to take alcohol advice from someone that's never tried liquor,
Right.
right? I know I had that issue with my dad. Like, my dad wasn't ever like an alcoholic or anything, and like, hey, or you know, whatever, hey, you should probably stop drinking. I'm like, yeah, I mean, you're probably not wrong, but like, you don't know what I'm going. Like, I'm not going through stuff. I just like to drink.
You don't know me.
Yeah, but like anything, like it's hard to take advice from someone that's never been through what you've gone through. And like you've talked to me before, like, Matt, you don't understand like this addiction thing, and I don't.
Yeah.
And you know, for me to think over the years that I know I've given you advice, probably that I have no advice, or I have no room giving you on drugs because I've never done any hard drugs. But obviously, for you, you've gone through all this shit. You've done all these hard drugs. You've gone and died. You've done the alcohol. You've gone through all this trauma. There's definitely an audience out there for you that you can help because you've gone through this. You've walked the walk. And I think that's why you're here. I mean, I'm not going to tell you what to do with your life, but
Yeah.
I encourage you to like fall into your passion even more that you're doing now, and like make as much content as you can, get it out there to the masses. I'll have you on here as much as I can, and get more big groups. I think it's easier for people to talk about their stuff maybe in a bigger group than maybe just one-on-one with someone, because the pressure's not all on you. It's like 25% here if it's 4 people, right? So
Yeah, but this was not bad at all. I would definitely watch it.
yeah. So men's mental health, huge issues. You know, between, like you said, the drug side, the people living on the streets, the homeless rates are huge.
Mm-hmm. Another underlining problem with it is the mental health. So it is the depression, it is the ADHD, it is the PTSD. Well, you're just basically medicating yourself with drugs. So the underlining thing with me is I'm very impulsive. So if I don't have my impulses in check, then, you know, obviously I just do things without thinking. So I still take medications, but yeah, they go hand in hand. So I'm very impulsive, so I'll do drugs. I have a very addictive personality, so I'll stay doing drugs. And I'm very stubborn, and I know how to get things, and I'll get it within that day, if not that hour, you know. And like I said, I'd panhandle to go see Jelly Roll, you know, and I've done that at other concerts too. I didn't have a ticket, and he said, they can have a dollar, can I have a dollar, can I have a dollar, when I was like 16, going to like Twisted and Blazy Dead Homie and ICP, you know, all those bands when I was a kid. And yeah, I was just relentless, and I just didn't take no. But now I'm using it for good, and like I said, these are basically video diaries. So when I do pass away, Lily and Brooklyn have something that they can look at, and if they happen to be going through the same thing, there is light at the end of the tunnel. But like you said, you might not be able to see it, but keep taking those same steps in the right place. You'll eventually get there.
that's 100% correct. Well, Robbie, I appreciate you coming on, man. Where can everybody follow you?
I'm on TikTok, Made Random, and then also YouTube, Made Random. Same thing, MADERNDM. It's the only one on there, and it has like the little emoticon as if he's saying swear words, but it's RNDM, and that's my logo.
All right, dude. Well, I appreciate it, and we'll definitely have you back on again.
Hell yeah.
All right, Han. Thanks.
Yep.